Hello, our dear viewers, and welcome to our program Newsroom, where we are going to tackle the latest in the world of politics, business, finance, as well as the exciting world of sports. I'm Maisi Rabia. A short break, and we'll start right away. And welcome back. On his social media account, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi greeted Egyptians on the occasion of the holy month of Ramadan. The head of state wished Egypt and the Egyptian people peace and prosperity. Meanwhile, on her social media account, Egypt's First Lady, Ms. Intisar al-Sisi, greeted Egyptians on the occasion, wishing Egypt and the Egyptian people peace and prosperity. And on the occasion of the start of the holy month of Ramadan, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi exchanged greetings cables with the presidents, kings and princes of the Arab and Islamic nations. President Sisi expressed his best wishes for the Arab and Muslim leaders, wishing them, their countries and the peoples progress, development and prosperity. President Sisi also sent greeting cables to Egyptian expats, wishing them success and prosperity. President Sisi received greeting cables from senior state officials on the occasion. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Sunday expressed appreciation to relations between Egypt and the EU, especially after they were elevated to the level of comprehensive strategic partnership in March from the year 2024. This came as the President received EU Commissioner for the Mediterranean, Dubarak Suissa, and the presidential spokesman Ambassador Mohammed Ishinawi said that Sisi hailed the EU's decision to create the title of Commissioner for Mediterranean Affairs, being a step toward boosting cooperation between the two sides. He said the meeting discussed cooperation in the immigration file, the need to follow a comprehensive mechanisms that links immigration to development and deal with root causes for illegal immigration. The presidential spokesman said that for her part, the EU's Commissioner for Mediterranean Affairs was keen on listening to President Sisi's vision, which came in regard to development in Gaza and the efforts to kickstart its reconstruction without the relocation of the Palestinian population. And the Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati held a joint press conference with EU Commissioner for the Mediterranean, Dubarvak Suista, following their talks in Cairo. Abdelati stressed the need for EU pressure in order to maintain the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the honest and full implementation of the deal, including the obstruction of the flow of aid by the Israeli side.
Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati hailed the growth of Egypt-EU relations, especially after they were elevated to the level of comprehensive strategic partnership in March 2024. Addressing a joint press conference with EU Commissioner for the Mediterranean, Dubravka Suika, following their talks in Cairo on Sunday, Abdelati welcomed the visit by the EU Commissioner to Egypt, saying it reflects mutual interest in upgrading cooperation and coordination between Egypt and the bloc, with the aim of achieving security and stability in both the Middle East and the Mediterranean regions. The top diplomat said that the talks tackled a means of implementing the distinguished Egypt-EU partnership, adding that they agreed on holding a second summit meeting between both sides, hopefully this year. Abdelati said the talks with the EU Commissioner also tackled the development of the human capital, the EU commitment to supporting Egypt's water security, and the release of second EU financing package to Egypt. Over regional files, the foreign minister stressed the need for EU pressure in order to maintain and uphold the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the full and honest fulfillment of the agreement signed in January in all its terms and phases, including unhindered aid access to Gaza. He said he informed the EU Commissioner of the Egyptian Arab and Muslim plan for reconstruction in the Gaza Strip and the immediate launch of the early recovery programs. Over Syrian developments, Abdelati said the talks affirmed the importance of inclusive political process, fighting terrorism and the full rejection of any Israeli pretext for occupying Syrian territories. And for her part, the EU Commissioner for the Mediterranean, Dubravka Šuica, said that the EU is committed to supporting economic prosperity, adding that since holding the Egypt-EU Investment Conference in Cairo, where 30 agreements were signed, the bloc will continue to boost cooperation with Egypt, notably in energy, water, security, and commerce.
Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli asserted that in the implementation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's directives, the government has prepared an integrated plan for early recovery and reconstruction of Gaza Strip, while keeping the Palestinian people in the Strip during the reconstruction process. This came during Madbouli's meeting on Saturday with his Palestinian counterpart, Mohammed Mustafa, to discuss the features of the early recovery and reconstruction plan for the Gaza Strip, which will review at the upcoming Arab Summit on the 4th of March. Prime Minister Madbouli reiterated Egypt's steadfast support for the Palestinian people and their legitimate rights, especially the right to self-determination and the independence of the Palestinian state on the border of the 4th of June 1967, with East Jerusalem as its capital. For his part, Palestinian Prime Minister praised President Sisi's efforts to support the legitimate Palestinian rights and efforts to rebuild the Gaza Strip. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Expatriate Affairs Badr Abdel held a joint press conference with the Palestinian Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Mohammed Mustafa. During the press conference, Abdel stressed Egypt's supporting stance for the Palestinian leadership and people, their steadfastness on their land and the justice for their cause. Abdel said that they discussed Gaza's reconstruction that will be tackled in an emergency meeting of the Arab League. The Palestinian Foreign Minister, for his part, hailed the Egyptian stance for hosting the emergency meeting and its support for the Palestinian. He added that Egypt's plan for reconstruction is practical and ready for implementation, highlighting the Palestinian government's aspiration to unite the Palestinian state and its institution. Egypt condemned the Israeli government's decision to block the humanitarian aid entry into the Gaza Strip and to shut down the crossing points used for humanitarian relief works. A foreign ministry statement asserted that the Israeli massive measure violates the ceasefire agreement and are contradictory to the humanitarian international law. More details in the following report.
Israel faced sharp criticism on Sunday as it stopped the entry of all food and other supplies into Gaza on Sunday and warned of additional consequences if Hamas does not accept a new proposal to extend the fragile ceasefire. Egypt's foreign minister, a key mediator in the conflict, accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon in a flagrant and clear violation of the humanitarian law. Saudi Arabia called the Israeli decision a tool of extortion. Hamas accused Israel of trying to derail the ceasefire hours after the first phase had ended and called the Israeli decision to cut off the aid a war crime and a blatant attack on the truce that took a year of negotiations before taking hold in January. The first phase saw a surge in the humanitarian aid after months of growing hunger. It expired on Saturday. In the second phase, Hamas could release dozens of remaining captives in return for the Israeli pullout from Gaza and a lasting ceasefire. Negotiations on the second phase were meant to start a month ago, but have not begun. Saying the ceasefire has saved countless lives, the International Committee of the Red Cross said that any unraveling of the forward momentum created over the last 6 weeks risks plunging people back into despair. The UN humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, called the Israeli decision alarming, noting that the international humanitarian law makes clear that aid access must be allowed. Medical charity MSF accused Israel of using aid as a bargaining chip, calling that unacceptable and outrageous. 5 non-governmental groups asked the Israeli Supreme Court for an interim order barring the state from preventing aid from entering Gaza, claiming the move violates the Israeli obligations under the international law. These obligations cannot be conditioned on the political considerations.
Welcome back, our dear viewers. To shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Midhat al-Miligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Ambassador Miligi, thank you so much for joining us. Hello, sir. Ambassador Miligi. Hello. And indeed, the violation of the decision of the entry of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, the stoppage of the entry of humanitarian aid was implemented by Israel against the ceasefire agreement. Ambassador Midhat al-Miligi, good day to you, sir. Ambassador Midhat al-Miligi. Hello? Can you hear me? And indeed, to continue our wrap-up for the developments on the ground, Egypt expressed its rejection of any attempts that threaten the unity, sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Sudanese territories, including the exerted efforts to form parallel Sudanese government, which complicate the scene in Sudan and hinder the ongoing effort to unite the vision between the Sudanese political power. In a statement for the Foreign Ministry, Egypt called on the Sudanese political power to prioritize the country's supreme national interest and engage positively in launching comprehensive political process without any foreign interference.